For today's lesson, we are going to focus on working with algebraic expressions, and within that we are going to combine like terms. Our essential question for today's lesson is, how do you add and subtract algebraic expressions? So when combining like terms, we are essentially putting similar components of an expression into groups to rewrite our expression. So for our first question, we have a question about Stephen and Jill. Each week, Stephen gets an allowance of $8 plus $3 for each chore that he does. His younger sister, Jill, gets an allowance of $6 plus $2 per chore. How much do Stephen's and Jill's parents pay all together? So we're going to go back and look at the information about Stephen. We know that Stephen gets $8 regardless, and then he gets $3 for each chore that he does. So that means for one chore he gets $3, for two chores he would get $6, and so forth. So we're going to write out that information. So he gets $8 plus he gets $3. And because it's for each chore, we can use a variable to represent the number of chores because that could change. So we're going to use the variable C for chore. So this represents our information about Stephen. $8 no matter what, and $3 for every chore that he does. Now for Jill, Jill gets $6 no matter what, and then she gets $2 for every chore that she does. And that amount is added to the $6. And because we're dealing with chores, we're going to use the same variable, C. So here we have two expressions, one for Stephen, one for Jill, about them doing chores. So now we're going to add them together where we combine our like terms. So $8 and $6, those are like terms because they're both whole numbers and neither of them contain a variable. So when I add them together, I'm left with 14. Now our next set of variables that we can add together are the $3 per chore and $2 per chore. Those are like terms because they both contain the same variable. And because they contain the same variable, we can then combine them or add them. So now we're going to add them together, and 3C plus 2C gives us 5C. So this is our expression for our question about Stephen and Jill. Stephen and Jill's parents have to pay $14 no matter what, and then they have to pay an additional $5 per chore that is done. Let's do another example. This example contains rational numbers. So we have negative 0.25x minus 3. And then we have another expression where we're going to subtract a positive 1.5x plus 1.4. So this subtraction sign right here causes us to do things a little differently. So I need you to pay attention very closely. So we're going to combine using our like terms, and we're going to start with our terms containing our variable. So we're going to look at a negative 0.25, and we're going to subtract from that 1.5. So if we think about it, we've really got negative 0.25 minus 1.5. So negative 0.25 minus 1.5 is a negative 1.75. And because they're like terms, they both contain the variable x. We're going to have that here. Now we're going to look at a negative 3 minus 1.4. So we're going to write that out here. Negative 3 minus a positive 1.4. A negative minus a positive. Remember, that's just like adding a negative. So here we have a negative 4.4. And there is no variable. So this is our new expression where we have combined our like terms. Now, what I would like you to do after stopping the video is I want you to try both of these. Remember to break them apart. Look at just the terms that are the same and then add them or subtract them depending on what you see here. Okay? If you have any questions, ask me when I see you tomorrow. That is all.